Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the podcast Strikes Back. It's your boy George here on the mic with the voice Connor.
Hello.
Fuck, I fucked it. I fucked
How?
it. I didn't say welcome to the weekly show.
Well, welcome to the weekly
Oh,
show.
fuck
There it's
it.
done.
No.
And we're here with Ben too.
Hello.
Plow on. We believe in you, George.
welcome. We're going to steamroll through this. Guys, we got a huge show this week. We got some Star Wars picks from Vanity Fair. Taika Waititi is in the directorial hot seat for Akira, confirmed. Plus, of course, we got to talk Dark Fate, Terminator new trailer. It's going to be great. As always, before we get into the news, let's catch up on what everyone's been watching. Connor.
Whoa. I thought you were going to go to yourself.
I was.
But last second throwing
I'm
it
a
up.
charitable man.
Right. Well, we all saw Aladdin last week, and that kind of hit my quota for going out of my house. So I haven't seen any movies at the theater.
Yeah.
But what I have done is I have nearly finished season 3 of Man in the High Castle, which is the Amazon Prime series that, as I said last time, seems to have kind of gone unnoticed. I don't know whether it's just my radar that it's not hitting, or if it's just not, if it's not hitting anyone's radar. But,
It should be talked about more.
way
firmly
more.
believe that.
I am seriously impressed with the quality of this show, and I mean, when I finished it, season 2 kind of finished on this big. I don't know if I'd say it wasn't a cliffhanger. It was just like this big finish. You were like, oh, I kind of like sitting there, oh my god, I can't believe this happened, type thing. And so when I started season 3, it kind of felt a little bit like, how are they going to top that? It doesn't quite feel as snappy. Like they're kind of going back to, all right, let's calm down a little bit, let's build up again, type thing. So it started out a little slow, but I've got to say this season has really ramped up as it's progressed, as they all have. Like
What
all of
episode are you up to now?
Season 3, episode 8.
Okay, cool.
I think I've just finished 8. So
So it's got a
2 more
similar
to go.
trajectory to
Yeah.
the other seasons, where it ramps up and
Yeah, and I think that's just out of pure necessity, because it just kind of comes to a crescendo at the end of season 2, and you just got to kind of like, all right, let's calm down, let's reassess, reassert, and all that. But look, I think that what I said from the last season, which was that I was so wildly impressed with the character development and the dimensionality of the characters, so that the bad guy isn't just the bad guy. You sympathize; they're humanized. It's really interesting that way. I feel like they have continued on that streak, but they've added just some very cool elements to the plot, particularly around the sci-fi area. Now, this is season 3 is, I think, where you really start to get into the kind of, in a stricter sense, the sci-fi aspect of it. And I love how they're introducing it. It's in such a kind of subtle, step-by-step way. You'd never just go out right in the door and say that this is a strict sci-fi. It's far more like character drama type thing. But yeah, I'm absolutely loving how they're introducing those elements to it. It doesn't feel forced at all. It doesn't. It doesn't. Some sci-fis, they seek to replace plot with gimmicks. This is the gimmick. It's time travel. This is the gimmick. It's spaceships, whatever it is. And the sci-fi aspect of this doesn't hinder the plot or replace it. It actually aids it.
yeah, I've only watched season 1, but I definitely saw the beginning, a part of the sci-fi thread coming in there with some of the elements in it.
Yeah, and it's that slow throughout the progression of this series. It doesn't, like, there was never in season 1 a moment. Oh, there might have been a slight moment where you're like, oh, I get it, like it's sci-fi type thing, but it kind of doesn't really try to smack you in the face with it, and that's throughout the entire series. They just kind of add little elements, and you get introduced to this world, and I'm just really enjoying it. And I'm kind of bummed out because I've got to wait for season 4 to come out now.
That should be on the way, correct?
I think the pilot might even be out already.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Don't
Nice.
take that as a as a definite or even suggested.
Yeah, nice one. I mean, I've got to get back on this train, ship.
It's another
boats.
2 seasons, George. Let's not pretend that you're gonna
Oh,
lug through 2 seasons of anything.
2026, baby.
Yeah,
Gonna dial that shit in. Is that it?
yeah. That's literally all I
That's
watched.
it?
That and Aladdin.
Nice. How about you, Benny? Any gems?
Well, I've been catching up on the new season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., my fave. It seems like they've finally been forced out of the MCU through what they were not told about what would be happening in Avengers Endgame.
Oh, really?
The last season ended really amusingly to me with sort of the arrival of Thanos.
I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah, which is just like the plot just bailed on the show. Like the bad guys were like, "Fuck, Thanos is coming, we're out of here." And that was it. It was awesome. But this season, the press stuff has said it's kind of takes place before the snap, so they don't have to acknowledge that. But then, they just clearly weren't told like about the characters coming back 5 years later, and then the MCU taking place in a different time now. So it's just completely at odds with the current MCU.
So you've just watched the first episode of the
first 3.
Are they releasing them just all
Weekly.
At once? Okay, all right, yeah, cool.
It's an interesting discussion point because, in a way, there's nothing directly, like nothing's come out to confirm this, but I feel as though with all that stuff that happened in Endgame, with the parallel universes, time travel, whatever you want to call it, I feel like this is the first step towards the MCU kind of going, fuck continuity. And if you're seeing
not that they ever really were too.
Feige's never considered any of the TV stuff in continuity.
We'll see what happens with Disney Plus and everything else.
But all the currently existing TV stuff has never been considered part of the MCU.
But then how come
it's always been nipping at the heels?
But then you got Jarvis in Endgame.
So okay, interesting. Just that's the one exception because Agent Carter was created by Marcus and McFeely. So they wrote that show. Right. So that's kind of their thing that they have included. But everything else is like part of the big like Feige Ike Perlmutter schism.
Sure.
So Feige I think is pretty much just like, no, fuck this guy and all his shit. I don't want it. But yeah, and it seems like they've done such a good job over the years of like sort of nipping at the heels of the MCU and kind of keeping up with what's going on. But with this one, they were just like, fuck. We're gonna miss. Yeah. Oh well. But the last season kind of involved some time loop reality altering stuff that you can kind of explain it away if you want to, but
how
for that you get a no prize.
Drastically have they diverged from I guess the main MCU line? Like
basically Thanos arrived at the end of last season, and in this season no one's dead.
Well,
so
that'll do
drastically. Yeah. It's like, I don't know, he snapped, and just like anyone who's ever appeared in the show was in the lucky 50% that didn't get snapped or know that anyone else got snapped. Right. So they're fine. But enjoying it very much. The production value is just so friggin' insanely high for television. They've got a shortened season for this one, so the budget's just working a lot more. I don't know, but they're down from the standard kind of ABC like 20-something episode thing, which they've been doing wonders with over the past few seasons, doing 3 separate arcs of like 8 episodes.
Oh, that's pretty fun.
Which is a really great way to do it.
Makes it a bit more digestible.
Yes, absolutely. And I also watched the entire second season of Barry in like one sitting. Cannot recommend that show highly enough.
Get in on that Foxtel subscription while you can.
Absolutely, yeah.
They were offering it for like $4 on iTunes.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I've got it. I just need to find the time to watch it now.
Hell yeah.
I'm one step closer to being on your level there, Ben.
I also checked out...
How was that? Season 2?
Great. I just said cannot recommend the show highly enough. So it's like upper echelon of all TV. Cool. Yeah, I absolutely love it. Watching something great from HBO really reminded me of how far Game of Thrones had fallen. Because it's just not that TV for me anymore. I also had the pleasure of watching Brightburn from the mind of James Gunn.
Yeah.
Produced by James Gunn. Awful. Absolutely awful.
Really? No.
Yeah, so this is the movie you'll know. We've talked about the trailers of what if Superman, arrived in middle America and was raised by these nice farmers, but he was actually evil. And that is the entire movie. They do not develop that any further whatsoever.
Because when we saw the trailer, we were suspected that they had kind of played all their cards and they had nothing left up their sleeve.
Yep. And that is completely it. Like you see almost the whole movie in the trailer. They do not push that setup in any interesting direction. It is literally just like, he's evil. There's no internal struggle. There's no development of this kid. He's just like, may as well be programmed to be evil. It is practically like the Omen, like a possessed kid story. It's like the Omen, but he's got superpowers. It's a little effective as a horror movie. There's some pretty creepy stuff in it. Some good scares. Some insane gore. Like one of the most gruesome movies I've seen in the theater. Because I generally skip all that Saw stuff. So and Final Destinations and whatnot. But there is some fucked up shit in there. But it's really kind of laughably disappointing in the way that like a scene will ramp up and they'll be like, oh shit, our kid has evil superpowers and he's doing horrible things, and then it'll just end that scene and the next scene will start with them acting like everything's normal again.
Right.
Like kind of the worst horror movies do.
Okay.
You know, when someone stays in a haunted house beyond all reasonable reason that they should be getting out.
I like when horror movies fix that by saying it doesn't matter if you move away, and they're like, oh, whew. Close call there.
Yeah.
Not the worst thing, but yeah, just really squandered its premise.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, like go watch We Need to Talk About Kevin, or read, Injustice or Red Sun or any of the other evil Superman stories out there. Much better than this. And I also watched something that I feel like just never gets talked about at all. I've been in such a Keanu mood since John Wick 3. So I watched the Matrix trilogy.
Wow.
And the Animatrix.
All three.
Watched all three. That first Matrix is one of the best movies ever made. I watched it twice last year in the theater.
Yeah, we had a screening last year. That was fun.
I watched it two nights in a row on film. Mind blowing. And even watching it at home this time, I was like, this movie is just amazing.
I haven't watched.
So good.
I've been thinking about it lately, but I haven't watched any of the trilogy for at least, God, it'd have to be 10 years. Probably.
Really? Even the first one?
Yeah.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
Get in there, man. And especially if you can find a cinema screening, because it's a 20-year anniversary this year. So if you can find that on the big screen.
Is there any, when you watch it, is there any part of your brain that goes, it's a bit dated?
Not a single thing in that first one for me.
In the first one,
That movie was so huge. It's so easy to forget out of context how huge and influential that movie was for a decade to come. So there is a lot of stuff where you're like, when Trinity jumps up and does the kick, and you're just like, all you can think of is Shrek. I've seen that so many more times. But it is amazing. The sequels, which I am much more in favor of than the general kind of consensus, which is like really harsh. I think people write those movies off completely.
Yeah.
Like there is no value to them.
Yeah.
I think they are some of the most amazing action movies ever made. All three of them. The third movie I just watched last night is one of the most visually stunning movies I've watched in a long time. I cannot believe a movie from 2003 looks that good in terms of CGI and effects.
I still remember like vividly scenes from those little octopusy things.
The Sentinels.
The goodies.
Yeah. Like it is
They're freaky.
A kind of stunning film in terms of the visual imprint that it has on my brain, at least.
They do some amazing stuff with it. I'll tell you what is better than almost any modern blockbuster in those three, just in terms of visual effects, is the compositing. It's virtually flawless throughout the three of them, which helps so much in creating kind of a seamless image even with effects that aren't, as technically advanced as we're getting today. I cannot recommend going through that series enough. Like I said, it just doesn't get talked about enough anymore. People made the sequels. They were disappointing to people, and they just went under the carpet.
Yeah, I think I've only seen Revolutions once. And that's the third one, correct?
Yeah.
I've only seen that once, I believe. And I just was so bitterly disappointed with it. And also, I don't necessarily think... it'd be interesting to go back and watch it, but I felt like the story in the first one is so complete.
Yeah.
Like, that's in of itself just a fantastic piece.
Mm-hmm.
And expanding on it just was an exercise that didn't reap any rewards.
Yeah, I don't...
From my perspective at the time when I saw it all those years ago.
I don't disagree just speaking about the Matrix on its own, but I really do think there's a lot of really cool stuff in the other two. And the Animatrix especially really fleshes out that world so much.
I love that.
I'm thinking it may be my favorite kind of franchise mythology because, I'm not the biggest Star Wars guy. So all these other things, I just love every layer that is revealed about that world. It's because it's so similar to something like the Terminator in a lot of ways, but I just think it's so much more compelling and interesting and deep
dense and feels so well realized, especially that one in the Animatrix where it's part 1 and part 2.
Yeah,
the history,
the second Renaissance.
That is fantastic.
Amazing
stuff.
Yeah, and it got me thinking because there were rumors very recently about the Wachowskis working on a new Matrix film.
Yeah,
I'm so
That's
okay
exactly
with that.
what I was
I would
about to
happily
ask.
watch another movie in that world, just based on the Animatrix alone. I think there are so many stories you can tell with that premise.
So, is there any information on what that new project is? Because I remember seeing that. What was it, this week or last week?
No mas, no deal. They said there was misinformation
with the Chad Stileski stuff.
Yeah, so that could be a smokescreen, but the official word is that's not happening.
Oh, that's devastating.
Well, I remember that rumor that Michael B. Jordan was going to be the lead, and I just thought, hell yeah, bring that.
So
on.
that was talking about a full reboot.
That was a reboot. And then I thought the narrative went to, it's not a reboot, it's a requel kind of thing.
Love a requel.
Love a good requel.
Yeah.
Killer, man. That's
so
Okay, so
thoroughly
wait.
enjoyed them.
I'm sorry. I've just looked this up. Now we've got the John Wick 3 director saying that the new movie
Chad
is in
Stahelski.
works.
Yeah. But then hit the update.
This is 3 hours ago.
Oh, really?
Ooh, they said.
What publication is that?
Esquire.
Yeah, Esquire. Back in men's magazines, mate.
Can't
Can't be trusted. Oh, nice pics, man. Maybe time to dial in a rewatch.
Invite me over. I won't watch them again already.
This week, I have been working my way towards X-Men
Hey.
excellence. So with Dark Phoenix coming out, I'm convincing these guys we got to do a rankings episode for all the Fox movies. So I'm working my way through those. Watched First Class, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse.
What about 2 or 3?
I'm watching the sequels first. So I'm going through all those. The prequels. The
Yeah.
prequel series, and then I'm going
Yeah.
to go the sequel series. Hopefully it doesn't blow your mind too much.
Your like choices of how you watch films has always
You
fascinated
know what's so
me.
funny? I was listening to this podcast the other day, and I felt this kinship with this guy because he was like talking about how much he loves BoJack Horseman. But he's like, just skip season 1. It's not good. Go to season 2. You're in. And I'm
What?
like, yes, sir. Yes.
But also, he's wrong. Season 1 is
why
great.
is he wrong?
Because season 1 is great.
It's an opinion, my friend. It's all good.
Not when it comes to that. no. It's
So
incorrect.
I don't want to say too much about this because we've got the rankings episode come up. But I tell you what, Apocalypse is that bad. Like it's seriously as bad as you remember and more.
Worse.
Good.
Just on your viewing order there, Georgie. There's never been a series where watching them in order matters less. The continuity in those movies is ridiculous.
It's
You
probably a
probably
good
have a
point,
better
yeah.
time watching them out of order.
The only one that I think would matter is Days of Future Past, wouldn't it? Because it's not strictly speaking a prequel.
You know,
It's
watching
more a
that-
sequel to the Singer films than
Yeah.
anything
I don't
else.
know. Like
what I
watching it
thought.
again, like the Singer characters other than Wolverine are barely in it. They're like Picard.
true.
But I feel like that's,
Picard.
for me-
Patrick Stewart rocks up for
Yeah.
about 5 minutes.
But
He's
that for
barely
me is
in it.
kind of the crux of it. It's not necessarily that you see them lots in that film. It's that you already have this like wealth of knowledge
that you feel them.
coming from the Singer films, and then you jump into that. Which good, better, and different is I think
Better
the
and
point.
different.
Yeah.
I
Or
will
wouldn't be
say
indifferent.
the one takeaway, and I don't want to spoil my rankings too much, but Days of Future Past was not as good as I remembered it. I remember it being like the gemstone, like the true north of this, and I sort of I'm interested to see where after watching them all where it ends up in my list because it feels so incoherent in some parts. Like it feels like multiple layers of screenwriters adding in stuff, and it's still a fantastic movie and one of my favorites, no doubt. But yeah, it'll be interesting to chat with you guys about that one. And hey, listen, I tell you what, final thing I'll say is my favorite scene from Apocalypse continues to be the bit where he's staring at the telly.
Learning.
Honestly, I'll never get enough of that. Never in a million years. And that's about it. I've been just working my way through Dragon Ball Super as well, but I'm not going to be like Connor and burden you with, same old bullshit every week. So that's it. That's my list. And I think it's time to talk about some Sonic.
Oh boy. So the inevitable has happened. Sonic the Hedgehog has been delayed until Feb 14, Valentine's Day 2020.
What a good strategy. Perfect date movie. Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh boy, nothing gets me in the mood more than, than
Little
those
blue
Sonic
man.
characters. Yeah. So we all kind of hoped this would happen, I think, just for the welfare of the animators working on
Well,
this
yeah,
movie.
for that, yeah.
And the announcement actually acknowledged that. So there were two parts to it. It had a little sign with the new date on it with a gloved hand holding it. So the design of Sonic is clearly moving in a direction more like the actual character.
Yeah.
And it also had the hashtag no animators were hurt.
Well,
making
harmed
of this
in the
film.
making, yeah.
So as I kind of thought, the director is a visual effects artist himself, so I feel like he would have the best interest of the people working on the movie in mind. Maybe.
You would hope so.
Yeah. So this is pushed back about 3 months.
Yeah.
3-4 months.
I still feel as though this is
Too little, too late.
yeah, really.
They're addressing one of the 18 main problems with the film.
I think that there's like just beyond the design of Sonic, the entire premise of this film seems at odds with what works with these kinds of films. And we talked about this in our Pikachu review, which is, you know, we tend to prefer and movies are successful when they have a world in which these characters exist. Movies that are less successful are ones that they are introduced to our world as it is now, and there has to be some kind of connective tissue and fish out of water type thing, and that just doesn't work as often as I think people think it does.
Yeah, really successful storytelling is being able to create a world while simultaneously introducing all these characters to you, rather than just taking a character and throwing it into, just the real world.
Yeah, the existing world that you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, audiences are smart enough to figure out that, what world that they're witnessing. Like, people watch Detective Pikachu and they can figure out, all right, this is a world that has lots of Pokemon. They're furry little shits that walk around. Like, it's not hard to figure out.
You said you weren't a Pokemon fan. You seem to know your stuff, mister. Maybe the animators are really going to work overtime and just animate, not just Sonic, reanimate Sonic with the entire world around him and just make it like Green Hill Zone and make James Marsden Knuckles or something.
And they're just going to re-edit it so that, all the shock of seeing Sonic is out. Look, I don't hold out an awful lot of hope for this film. As always, I'm interested to see Jim Carrey in that role. I think that, but I mean, that's coming from someone that's, I'm always interested to see Jim Carrey in any role, really.
The interesting thing to me, and we've sort of seen this with Solo, we're seeing this with New Mutants, is what's the return on investment from a business standpoint of putting that extra capital into redesigning this character, and what does that do to the bottom line in terms of the end products? Like, let's say this is a $100 million film. If they put in an extra 20 million, is that going to boost the box office by a significant portion that they can offset that cost? What I think is sometimes it's better to just get that shit out there. Like sometimes it's just like cut your losses and get it out there rather than trying to reverse engineer it and make the perfect piece of art. It's an interesting thing, but it definitely didn't pay off for Solo. That's one thing for sure.
That's where my mind went when I saw Sonic the Hedgehog art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or creation,
Yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah.
I feel like this movie's going to make exactly the same amount of money it would have made before anyway, because it looks like a shitty kids movie that only families who have nothing better to do are going to go see anyway. Like if they redesign Sonic to look exactly like he does in the video games, which I think they're probably going to do at this point, I think the Sonic fans are still like, they're not going to be fooled by that. Surely they're still just going to probably download it and be like, well, that was shit.
Yeah, it's like, is that really the linchpin of success?
Yeah, people that were going to see it are still going to see it. The people that weren't going to see it aren't suddenly convinced by them redesigning the thing. Like even the people that were like, "Yes, we won. We did our petitions and we got them to change it." Like you were still going to see the film probably. Like barely anyone was boycotting it or anything like that. And if you were, then I hate to break it to you, but it's not going to be good suddenly.
Good luck to you.
Yeah.
So anyway, a nice compromise there between the internet hordes and the studios.
Everyone's behaving. Semi.
Next up, we have one that we can maybe take with a grain of soap, but grain of soap. Grain of salt.
Grain.
BuzzFeed News, that reputable source, reports that a movie based on Knights of the Old Republic is in the works, penned by Leisha Kal-Orgridis, who wrote Shutter Island and Alita Battle Angel, among many other films.
So the biggest question mark on this is definitely the fact that it's BuzzFeed that's reporting this. Do we not have any other reputable source that's repeating this?
So they said they have 3 sources close to the production, and there's a very specific name they've picked here, and they're maybe a joke, but they are a big name. Like this isn't some tiny Star Wars fan site that is just making something up completely. So I don't know. It seems like an obvious move for them as well. By the way, this is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, if anyone's not aware.
Oh shit!
Sorry. Now I'm listening.
I thought it was Warcraft.
So I don't know. Like this news is very believable to me.
The only thing that's okay. Let's say it is true. Where does that leave the Benioff Weiss?
Exactly. Yeah.
Where are we sitting with that?
Is this somehow that? Is this in conjunction with that?
Yeah,
or is
like,
this a different
So
thing?
is their role more of a production or like a producer? Like this, they were a
They were
showrunner
writing.
in Game of Thrones, correct?
And writers, yeah.
Oh, they wrote
And
as well,
a little
okay.
bit of directing in the last season. I think.
Right. Okay. So like that was one thing that was very curious to me, and I think Disney aren't going to really announce anything or put themselves in a corner. They're going to allow enough wiggle room to say, "Oh yeah, Benioff and Weiss, they fucked off, and there's something else coming through." Like they don't want to commit to anything right now. So I'm confused about what's going on. But regardless, just the news that Knights of the Old Republic is coming is really the highlight for me.
Yeah, this is the direction that I think most people wanted them to go in.
Yeah.
Anyone with any stake in the franchise, personally, but not in like a bad way, like some fan demands are. This does seem like it could be fruitful, like from a narrative standpoint.
Yeah, I like this because it's far enough removed from the existing universe of the movies that they don't have to really placate. Like what I will absolutely hate is if they start bringing in like the direct threads to the existing franchise. That will piss me off.
Like
What? Like this is how C-3PO got invented.
Yeah.
My name is Kyle Skywalker.
Yeah, something like that. I'm
shit.
just lose
Officer,
my shit.
look at this new prototype. I call it the X-Wing Mark One.
Shit like that. That's not acceptable. But if they stray away from that, like if they keep away from that kind of the temptation, which Star Wars hasn't been able to do yet, but if they do stray away from that, I think this has a lot of potential to just be, far removed. They have the opportunity to create something really cool. And I mean, this is based. Knights of the Old Republic was a game.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a novel before the
Series
game,
of
right?
games. I'm not entirely sure.
No, there's definitely novels, spin-offs, but it's the game is
the original.
core
Yeah.
IP.
So I think that gives them a lot of leeway on how they approach that. They could just use the setting really as a kind of general area and then move on with something like that. So I think there's lots of opportunity with this. I think it's a smart move to go.
And I think unlike episode 7, 8, 9, they've got a blueprint to work off within the narratives from the games with Darth Revan and all that stuff. And they can twist it, but they're not beholden to it in the same way that these sequel trilogy is beholden to the original trilogy. They can kind of get rid of shit. They can cut their ties while still use those ingredients that they need to, that they like and that are interesting from the Knights of the Old Republic game. And I tell you what, I've only played a little bit of it, but it's really dense and really fantastic and very, very well realized. And I think that's the reason why everyone wants it, is because it's inherently a really good little corner, really good part of the Star Wars franchise.
Feels like the best way they could try and recapture that, just the imagination of the series, like just not kind of iterating on all the stuff that's come before so much.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm into it.
And talking about reiterating on stuff from the past,
Yes.
we have a thing.
We have pictures, in fact.
Yep. So Vanity Fair has released their episode 9 spread.
Whoa.
With a bunch of really nice
I was just really
photographs.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fucking gorgeous. And I tell you what, I love the shot of the Knights of Ren.
Mm.
Way more industrial.
Just hanging about.
Yeah, just hanging out on Jakku. Oh, by the way, confirmed that is not Jakku. It's something else beginning with P. I'm trying to find the name
Goody,
now.
another desert planet.
Very interesting. I'm gonna
The
fuck up
fourth,
the
by
names.
the way. Sorry, just to.
I'm gonna fuck up the names. In that shot that we're talking about, the Knights of Revan. Sorry,
Ren.
That's what I said. Just definitely don't go back and check what I did say. The weapon that he's holding, the guy second from the right.
Oh, yeah.
You saw this, didn't
I
you?
saw this.
Yeah. So
you would never. You're like claiming this to like you discovered it.
Oh, no. There's no. I've
You fucking
never.
Star Wars
I've
nerd.
never gone back to Solo. I would have to go back and rewatch Solo for
love
me to
that.
catch this, and it's not
So
happening.
guys, I noticed a little detail.
No, I did not pick this
I'm
up.
kidding,
God,
I'm
no.
kidding.
I do not have that kind of time. It looks like a piece of prop from what's his name, the bad guy in.
Paul Bettany.
Yeah. Well, what's his? The Star Wars guy.
No, I'm not going to remember that shit ass character's name.
Yeah, it looks
YOLO.
like something that he had in his lair.
Yeah, a little thing dangling.
The
the
two
ceiling.
main, I guess, thoughts behind this were that he collects memorabilia from different Sith Lords, and then obviously that would then get passed on to the Knights of Ren. The other more probable thing was that it's a reuse of prop.
Okay. Oh,
what did you think of the other one was?
I thought it's like Kylo's, in his chamber, and he's sort of going one by one through the Knights of Ren, and then a hooded figure comes from the darkness, and it's Paul Bettany. Remember me?
Oh my god!
No, you didn't see that one.
No,
To be honest,
don't.
I would not be surprised if they pulled that shit.
If they did that, I will fucking rage quit.
Man, that's the end of Solo right there. Guess what? It's Darth Maul. Remember him?
I hope it's the former of those, wherein he collects memorabilia, and
I think there's something cool to that, and they would never really need to explain it. So, for all intents and purposes, it could be a reused prop, but it fits into the narrative well.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool.
Did you think, as much as I love The Last Jedi, do you guys think that I was very one thing I was very disappointed about it was the lack of the Knights of Ren, and having them in this, it almost feels like this is episode 8. A weird 8.5 or something, like this franchise, I've said it's going to be a really interesting case study once it's all said and done. But, he's going to change a few ingredients that he wasn't pleased with Rian Johnson's interpretation.
I feel like the Knights of Ren was such a marketing thing. Like, they're not acknowledged in episode 7 at all. There's one shot of them kind of
flashback
being dudes there, right?
Yeah.
You don't know anything about them. So,
I mean, if he had wanted them to really be an integral part of this trilogy, he should have just shown them in the first one, like actually use them, which it's pretty dense. Like I'm not saying that I would have preferred that one if with the Knights of Ren, but I think it's absolutely fine that they didn't show up in the episode 8.
I just think they could have expanded upon that, and for them to like rock up now, it's kind of like, well, where the fuck were you in episode 8? Like, wasn't Kyle? Anyway, whatever. What other things stand out to you guys here? I really like the shot of Domhnall Gleeson and our friend, what's this?
Richard E. Grant.
Richard E. Grant.
I'm so glad that's right because I could not see that far.
Yeah. I love the aesthetic of the set. My only concern here, though, is that he seems like almost like a surrogate for Tarkin. He's got a very Tarkin look to him. And what I loved about episode 7 and episode 8 was like we had this new wave of the First Order coming through, like the young, Kylo Ren and General Hux, the new blood taking over. And to for all of a sudden have this like old dude come in. I don't know. I'm interested to see how they weave it in. Hopefully it feels natural.
Yeah. Something that stands out to me is I know a scene I'm already going to hate.
The
which
horses.
Is the horses.
Wild horses.
Fuzzy horses. They're so cute.
They're better than the fuzzy donkey kangaroo things from the Fuzzluts or whatever the fuck they were called.
Foxy
things.
In The Last Jedi. I like the design.
The design is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with the actual design. I just, in my head, I know that that's not going to work. I don't have any faith that they can execute that scene. Like, just them riding on horses. It feels so alien.
The only thing
in a
is
Star Wars
that
film.
they, those are real horses. So unlike The Last Jedi.
Sorry, I don't mean in execution in a, like a visual effects way. I mean an execution in terms of how that gets weaved into the story, how it fits aesthetically with the rest of like the continuation. Like the whole Canto Bight thing just felt at odds with the whole story. And I don't know, maybe I'm just getting PTSD from Canto Bight, but
yeah, no, that's fair enough. Well, I mean, Tauntauns. I mean, Han Solo's riding around on a Tauntaun in
for a moment.
So if they cut these things open and crawl inside, we're on board.
We're good. Yeah, I will agree with you though. What's the justification behind being on one of these versus a speeder? You know what I liked about the Tauntaun was like it was cold. It was like this environment that it's like okay, it makes sense to be on this creature because it knows the environment and it's built to scale these sort of these plains of ice. With this, like, why is he on a horse? Is it too mountainous for them to scale with a speeder? I would like some sort of logical justification there, but it's not a deal breaker for me. Also, love this shot of Kylo and Rey battling it out in some sort of a wave. I've read in the article itself that their connection deepens on this one with those scenes that we saw in The Last Jedi where they're having conversations across time and space, or maybe not time, just
Pretty
space.
sure just space.
Just space.
I mean, it is time, but just going like 1 second per second. Like it's regular time.
Just a little bit of latency. We're working on it.
I that was probably one of the best parts of The Last Jedi. I think is exploring that.
I hope she sees him shirtless again and freaks out.
As long as we see his belly button on this one.
As long as he's still 4 feet wide.
Yeah.
What a unit.
Weird bod, that guy.
The last one weirds me out though with the coloring and it was like it's some heavy editing clearly done on that.
The Luke Skywalker one?
Yeah,
It's pretty.
it is pretty.
The blue and the orange. It's
Wait a
orange, yeah.
minute. Didn't he die?
Wait.
Oh.
No.
Oh, shit.
You got it wrong.
He
I
missed
didn't-
it into fucking nothingness.
I didn't watch the internet re-edit of the film that they're using now.
Yeah.
You missed out, man. Oh, fuck. I forgot something that I watched this week.
Oh, no,
No,
too
it's
late.
too late.
We've got to
Leave
save
it
it
for
for
next
Too
week.
late.
No,
Tune in next
I
week.
want to know.
It's going to be so exciting. If that's a hook. I mean,
I'll be there.
any other things that I mean
It's such a bad joke.
forcefully.
Poe
damn it.
Poe Dameron looks bored as shit in the Falcon.
Yeah.
Sitting there
He's
like, man.
He's like, man, I was so excited in episode
I
7.
wanna
This
fly."
shit's crumbled.
Yeah. I miss my pal Finn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Billy D's looking good though.
Yeah.
Is,
he certainly does.
What's her name in there? I can't remember the actor's name.
Kelly Marie Tran.
Yeah, do we have a single?
I haven't seen any of her. No.
Yeah.
Phased out.
Yeah, face.
I would be really disappointed if she got phased out.
They're going to Jar Jar her.
Well, no, because
With the background of a few
the
scenes.
reaction to Jar Jar was completely legit. Like that's just a terrible character. She's not a bad character.
I stand by Judge.
Yeah. But I like if and then there's a lot of like negativity towards her by a small section of the fan base, and if they're editing her out of the series because of that, that's just pathetic.
It won't be editing out, but it will be a significantly reduced screen time.
I'd be very disappointed. If
Yeah,
that
I think
was the
she's
case.
gonna because they're introducing new characters in this one.
She'll
and-
pop up for a scene.
Yeah,
Hey.
That's really
they'd have a bunch of novels written about her at some point.
Overall, has this article piqued your interest?
Nope.
Has it confirmed anything?
Nope.
Has it made you worried?
No,
Nope.
it kind of just seems
Has it
business
done
as usual.
anything?
It's just business as usual,
Yeah.
really. Like I will be, as I said before, I'll be excited when we get a trailer, like a proper trailer.
Another one.
But we got a trailer.
Did we though?
Yeah.
I'll be excited when it's over.
And it was
yeah.
good. Yeah.
And then you can wait for Knights of the Old Republic and all the other movies that they've got in development.
I'm in such a good position to be pleasantly surprised by this film, but that's about it. I hope it's good. Next up, Taika Waititi's Akira will hit theaters on May 21st, 2021. So this is locked in. We heard rumblings about this months ago. And now it's just a couple of years away.
Seriously, man, I can't believe for as long as we have been talking about this since about fucking 2011 or something. I can't believe the lack of fanfare and buzz
Now
behind
that
this
it's
announcement.
actually, yeah.
Because if you had done this maybe 3 years ago, I think everyone would have been popping off. Like Jordan Peele got announced that he was working on it.
Yeah.
The Hughes brothers from all those years ago who did Book of Eli. Like,
Zac Efron.
oh, man.
I think people maybe just don't know what to think or feel because everyone loves Taika Waititi, but just the idea of adapting this, I think they're going more for the manga, is already strange. And then on top of that, he seems like a very odd fit based on just what we've seen him do so far.
In a way, but I think that the interesting thing that they're going to have to wrestle with is his comedic vision is definitely not part of the original anime. Like it's quite serious. It's
Yeah, probably not intentionally.
it's
No, sorry. I mean, that movie is like unintentionally funny a bit, but it's definitely not like trying to be a funny movie.
no.
So do you think that they just go kind of balls for the wall, Taika, do whatever you want, make your own thing, or do you think that they'll try to be a little bit more?
Well, he's confirmed that it's not going to be set in America. Yeah, I think he's confirmed that it's going to feature Asian actors. It's going to be set in Neo Tokyo.
He's very plugged
that's
into
fine.
whitewashing controversies. He's very culturally sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm more talking about kind of the feel, the aesthetic, the
I think it would be just a bit basic to be like, oh, he's going to make a funny movie. Like, I think if he's adapting Akira, he's probably looking to do something pretty true to the original. I'm just saying he's kind of untested in that field.
Yeah.
Because I think the dramatic stuff in Thor Ragnarok is better than I often give it credit for, but not the strength of the film.
Yeah, the scene with Odin could have been a lot more poignant.
Anthony Hopkins sucks in that movie, but Tom Hiddleston and Chris Hemsworth do great work. with it.
Well, there's
But
just
it's
nothing
very
for fucking Hopkins to do.
He could say his lines like he's actually
There.
Odin, rather than just being like reading them like blah 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 blah, and fades away.
Yeah. But I mean, why do you go watch Akira? For me, I love it because of the visual style and the themes, the ideas and concepts. I'm not there for like an amazing character like Tetsuo and all that. Like,
But that being said, going in to adapt this, you'd be like, yes, we want to make one of the most visually impressive movies ever made. But they wouldn't be like, and we don't care about character. Like they'd be aiming to hit every.
they need to amplify
point.
that for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
And that's kind of the thing. If you're adapting into a different medium, you have to kind of expect different things. Like it's not going to be the same kind of visual, masterpiece that Akira was.
But I think they'd be aiming to do that.
I'm sure they will.
Because that's what it's renowned for. I'm not going to bother asking you, Connor, because I know the answer. Have you read Akira, George?
No.
I haven't either. I'm very keen.
Leafed through it.
Oh, cool. Because
It's significantly different, I hear.
Yeah, well, the movie was adapted halfway through the writing of the manga, I believe.
Right.
But it was adapted by the same creator, so it should be in a lot of ways true to that, but it is much smaller or shorter. Like the manga is huge.
Yeah, the manga is significant. Like it's an undertaking. And with me, if there's more than one issue, I freak out. So that's why I haven't ever explored that, even though I love the anime. But yeah, I mean, can you imagine? Like, I'm sure a core sequence in this is going to be that speeder bike scene, and just seeing that live action, make it really visceral, make it very kinetic, give this over.
Do you know what this sounds like
stylized,
to me, though?
accelerated style?
Like this is, I could just see the talk track word for word, people talking about Tron. Like that's in my head. That's what I'm hearing. Because when Tron came out, visually stunning. They will try and give it a little bit more character. Think about that light bike scene. Like, think about seeing that in live action. That'll be so cool. That's
It's just
all
the
I'm
source
running
material, though, I guess.
all I'm running through my head. Like Tron, when it first came out, like as a source material, was really spectacular. It was a lot of
But what source material was it
What, you mean
based
the original
off?
film?
the film. Yeah,
Have you seen it?
Yep.
I never have. Looks
I mean,
garbage.
no. But what I'm saying is for the time.
Yeah, I remember when it was actually in year 6, my teacher goes, "Kids, this movie came out when I was your age. Now we're going to watch Tron." And I was kind of baffled by how bad it was. I thought it would looked so. It's just not our generation's thing.
Yeah.
At all.
But that's what kind of. I think that there's going to be some parallels with this now. Now that it just kind of clicks in my head. No, just in general, because you were talking about like the fantastic visual style.
Because it's all about bikes, wasn't it?
That's what clicked. That's what clicked in my head, of course. But the
Tron,
more I thought about it,
Tron,
the more
I don't know anything about the original, but it was never based off any kind of source material.
No,
so
no.
this one, it's like a remake. So it's going to be different. It's
They've been very clear that they are adapting the manga,
not
the anime.
okay.
Yeah, which as
so
we
it's
said
going
are
to be
very
quite
different.
significant. Yeah.
And I suppose for this, and you're changing mediums. You're going from anime to live action. There's a whole host of problems that come along with that as well.
That first movie looks amazing. That era of animation from Japan, and that is a peak example. It's just
That's the
so
peak.
stunning.
Because
we were talking about
most-
the Matrix earlier.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge influence on that.
The most anime will keep the jawline still, and then the mouth will just move. Whilst with Akira, it's a fully articulating, moving chin and jaw, and it gives it this extra layer of realism.
It's painstaking. The environments, the cities.
Oh.
My God,
The
we
man
gotta watch that. We gotta sit down and watch that
Yeah,
movie.
man. I saw that. We put that on last year, right? Or was that the year before? God, time's getting away from me.
We've never watched it together.
I don't know who you people are.
Yeah. What? Get the fuck out of my house.
Ben's just a lost homeless man.
We also have some more Waititi news here. Taika has parted ways with Netflix and Starburns Industries project Bubbles, the stop-motion animated film about Michael Jackson's monkey. What reason could they possibly be stopping this movie for?
Oh.
We may never know. This we have not heard anything about this in a while, and they just dropped it completely.
Dead in the water.
I was very interested in this movie, mostly when we were actually talking about it before those documentaries aired. Not because of the subject matter at all, just because Starburns, Dan Harmon's company, they worked on, I believe, Anomalisa, the animated stop-motion animated film from a few years ago. From what's his name? Look it up. It's fine. Which I've not watched, but apparently was amazing. And this sounded very interesting. Like this coming from Waititi is much more interesting to me than Akira. But oh well.
You're coming from Waititi.
Yeah, it seems far more in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. But I mean, this is a no-brainer to kill this.
Yes. Good move. People have a lot of strong opinions on that stuff about whether we can even listen to the music anymore.
It's pretty devastating to work on, work on maquettes and designs and sets. And
no idea how far the production was along, but
pull the
I'm
plug.
sure a lot of people put plenty of work into
See
it
you
already.
later.
Oh well. Next up, Christopher Nolan's next film is named Tenet, and Kenneth Branagh and Aaron Taylor-Johnson have signed on.
Tenet. You want to know the definition of it? Because I looked it up.
I do want to know the definition of it, George.
Here we go. Tenet's definition: the principle of belief, especially one of the main principles of a religion or philosophy.
Did you just do that off the top of your head?
Mate, this is a memory bank right here.
That's amazing.
Look
That's
at that.
literally what it is. Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. It's an
Very well
information port.
He was pointing to his knee.
So,
It's been a hard life.
do we feel like this is going to be sci-fi?
Sci-fi confirmed. Similar to...
Confirmed?
Confirmed. It's going to be like a globe-trotting espionage thriller with some science fiction aspects. So I'm kind of thinking
Inception type style thing? Yeah.
a little bit of James Bond.
Yeah. To be honest,
Bring it.
I'm really excited for that.
I think Chris Nolan works...
It was so enhanced with the way you were acting there. It's like, to be honest, I'm so excited.
I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to really psych you out by acting like either really excited, be like, I can't believe how average this film is.
Some compelling shit there.
Yeah.
It's like, where's he going to fall today?
Yeah.
So Kenneth Branagh, hey.
Yeah.
Aaron Taylor-Johnson,
Why don't you like?
As long as he has a little picture in his pocket, then I'm happy. No, he's all right.
No, I think Chris Nolan works better in a science fiction that's set on Earth rather than in space.
Yes.
Because I always wanted to see a little bit more from Interstellar. I do really like that film, but I wanted to see more. And I think he's so grounded in realism that to take that extra level of, psychedelic or, that next level of creative vision is a little bit of a wall that he hits.
I kind of liked that aspect in that movie just because it felt like it wasn't anything outside the realm of normality. Like it felt like, people go to space. That's a thing that people do. And it just kind of made it
I kind of
feel...
lost it when he was like,
and then he's in the
Merv, the love is the greatest power in the universe.
okay.
I'm like,
and then
you
in
kind
the
of lost me
Tesseract
at
at
the
the
end.
end.
Bring it home.
And the
at very
Tesseract
end.
at the end. I feel like that's
You
Nolan.
didn't like the Tesseract?
I don't think that's Nolan's strength. Like, I feel like everything else works
Was it something
better in
visually
the-
wrong with it? It just stylistically...
It feels like he's kind of... He can't go that extra mile to like let's just... We've got to always bring it back to this realism. And maybe I'm speaking out of turn here. I don't know, but...
out of turn. As if like Chris Nolan's going to walk in the room and slap you or something.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
You watch your mouth.
Mackenzie, I'm watching you. Yeah, I prefer Inception to Interstellar, I guess is what I'm ultimately saying.
God, does anyone not? I'd be
Yeah.
interested to hear if you prefer the one, the two I
Interstellar?
words there. You know what we said.
You know what I meant to say.
So yeah, for me, I'm pumped. I'm pumped.
I need to learn more because this title, which is like the only information we have mostly, does not give away anything.
Yeah.
Okay, here's an interesting thing. Nolan does this for every film. Like he does not release a lot of information. He really wants you to go enjoy it in the cinema. How does, in you guys' opinion, how does that compare to someone like JJ with the mystery box? Because I feel as though if you compare Chris Nolan's sort of general release strategy to JJ's, his one works better most of the time.
Whose?
Chris Nolan. Because even though he has surprises, it doesn't have that mystery box like, oh, I wonder how this is all going to tie together. It's like, I'm just here for something to surprise me.
doesn't
Good point.
overhype
Force
it.
Awakens didn't make any money.
Huh?
Force Awakens didn't make any money.
Not about money, but
there was
the approach.
yeah.
And-
Because do
and
you
the-
guys remember the trailers for Inception? Like those were like almost abstract.
Yeah.
Like it was just imagery, and it didn't really tell you what was happening at
Look,
all.
Personally, I prefer his strategy. Like I prefer
Whose?
knowing. Sorry, this is very vague, wasn't it? But I pointed.
You'll never know.
He is a lot better than him.
it's a good point. Yeah.
He's the one I
I hate that. I hate him.
I prefer
hate him.
Nolan's strategy to it. I think
definitely.
that movies that give too much away, it ruins a lot of the beats of a film. Like I really loved what Avengers Endgame did, where they only showed stuff from maybe like the first 20 minutes. So that when you get to the parts that are getting exciting, you're not saying, "Oh, I'm expecting this part of the trailer, or I'm expecting this line being delivered." And that's always a really kind of big struggle for me, because I think you have to market a film, but also you want to keep as much close to the chest as possible. So I prefer Nolan's strategy. I get the Abrams strategy as well. Like I get the appeal of it,
Yeah,
and it's going to sell more tickets, I think.
potentially. Do you see something there, Benny? Some parallel between these two, but they're
No.
difference. It's the same,
Same, but different.
different.
What was that?
Yeah, I don't know. J.J. Abrams just does it he pushes it too far. He just pisses people off because the answers are never as interesting as the questions.
Yeah.
Whereas I think
That's kind of what I'm alluding to here.
I guess J.J. Abrams overpromises, underdelivers, and Nolan does the opposite
yeah,
somehow
yeah.
most of the time. Interstellar.
But I think one is more commercially viable and the other one is more artistic. Like I don't think anyone would argue that.
Oh, but
Nolan
let's not like Nolan is a blockbuster filmmaker. His
No.
his movies do well.
They do really well, but I mean, just in terms of, I think like if you were to put your money on who's going to make a movie that, or in a year,
All right,
who's gonna
quickly.
make more money? Oh God, no! Please
if
don't.
Nolan made Episode 7, would it have made more money than if JJ made it?
I don't
which he
think so.
did. Whoa!
I don't know. I think JJ.
I think Nolan's a
mean,
much bigger name.
for commercially. I think his strategy works well with the Star Wars.
But put it
franchise.
this way,
Georgie?
Nolan leverages no IP. I don't think there's a single movie that JJ's done other than Super 8, which has no IP attached to
Yeah.
it. So Nolan, he's able to like.
But think about
Nolan
I
invented
mean,
Batman.
if we're going to go down this rabbit hole, think about Star Wars as a franchise. It's fantastical. It's meant to be big and bombastic and kind of a little bit, it's fantasy, and Nolan does not fit that description.
I
as far as
guess I
I'm
wasn't
concerned.
really talking about the finished product. I was just saying if you had a trailer that said Star Wars from the director of The Dark Knight, like
I would
Oh,
froth.
yeah. Well, I mean, if
I'm
you're
saying like
just talking all
he's a
over.
blockbuster name. Like
But
he's
if
a
you,
brand.
if you took the marketing strategy of each one, it's JJ all the way.
No.
Yeah, what are we talking about anymore?
Yeah, are you kidding me? JJ does like the little like here's little pieces, here's behind the film set. Like he's far more forthcoming with information about the films. It gets people hyped up and jumped about. Like I said, I prefer Nolan, but from a commercial aspect, JJ has that in the bag.
I don't think I don't think it's strong leaning in JJ's like favor than you think. I think if we added up the box office totals of both divided by number of films, it'd be pretty comparable. Like
Yeah,
what-
but the question was if Force Awakens was done by Nolan or J.J. Abrams. I think that particular film is far more aimed towards J.J. in terms of the marketing style, in terms of the filmmaking style.
yeah, and I mean going back to the IP, yeah, that makes sense. Like Nolan doesn't really leverage IP.
We have gone down a weird rabbit hole.
So, but nonetheless, speaking of commercial viability, we got some box office news to wrap up. Aladdin is looking at around a $265 million global haul for its opening weekend, which
Nice.
is, I would say, better than we would have expected here.
100%.
yeah.
And probably everywhere else, because everyone's really shitting hard on this movie. But it's been pretty warmly received.
Yeah, I've been surprised.
Comparatively.
And it's funny, like literally all my favorite reviewers, like some of them hate the genie, some of them love him. Like it's so flip a coin.
Divisive, yeah.
Everyone has their different perspective on the original, so it's been very interesting seeing that unfold.
Yeah. So anyway, the live action adaptation Disney movie train keeps on a rolling because
It certainly does.
yeah, this movie could could do damn well. But
Some dollars. It'll crack a billy for sure.
more good news for Disney. Endgame has passed Avatar in the United States box office. That was number 2, I believe, and is $100 million away from the all-time number 1 spot worldwide.
Wow.
So that's all but guaranteed at this point, unless Aladdin really takes off from here. So that's exactly what we expected. After this film's debut, highest grossing film of all time, kind of had to happen. Glad it's happening.
With that opening week, it was all but
that was
confirmed.
Shocking, in a good way, maybe.
Yeah.
Long live the king, I guess.
Yeah.
MCU. Do you reckon they're ever going to top that? Like an MCU film?
No film will ever top it ever.
That's the highest one.
Ever.
I guess the world's going to end before anything can.
Yeah. So, guaranteed.
I was literally about to ask if there was a film or a franchise or anything that you think could take that top spot.
Imagine if Avatar 2 does it.
Not a chance. Not a
They spend
chance.
$1 billion on marketing, open it in every cinema in the entire world, then buy all the tickets themselves.
James Cameron, I was
James
just
Cameron self-funding
purchases.
Jay personally goes to every session.
I just in my head I can't think of a, who would the director be? What would the gimmick be? What would the gimmick with
Nolan.
Avatar was 3D.
There's 2 scenarios where another film can beat Endgame. First scenario is we get phase 6 equivalent of Endgame. So, we've gone through phase 4, phase 5, phase 6, and this is like the next, completion of this saga or whatever.
Every Avenger ever, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans
comes
are back,
back.
the Guardians are back, the 6 other teams, the Eternals.
It's literally like it makes Endgame look like the first Avengers film. There's like 87 people on the screen at every given moment.
That was the last one. So they would need like 400 Avengers at all times.
870, let's go with that. The second scenario is if they release some kind of technology similar to 3D and they ride the wave of that. So
Tickets cost $80 each.
Some kind of 4D smell-o-vision, like some eye drop that you put in your eye and you're like, I'm in the movie, bro. I'm in the fucking... This is my pitch. Like, this is my pitch right now.
We'll be rich.
Hopefully this goes well.
There has to be some kind of extenuating circumstance. This movie was successful because they've built up a franchise, not just a franchise, but a world for 10 years. That's really hasn't been done in movie history at all. That's the reason that it's grossed as much as it has. Avatar rode the waves of the 3D, completely CGI created world.
This is a record that gets broken like every 10, 15 years, isn't it? Because it was
97?
Titanic 97, then
2009?
Yeah.
Or 2010, the year it actually broke it.
If you look at the adjusted for inflation
It's gone
list,
with the wind.
it's much more interesting, I think. And it's gone with the wind. ET's up there.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily trust those numbers. I don't think the numbers are inaccurate, but I think that the inferences from that are a bit inaccurate.
I'll tell you, Gone with the Wind was the only thing in movie theaters for like 4 years.
Yeah.
But it's just a more interesting kind of spread of movies, I think, than the current list, which is like the biggest blockbusters from the last few years because ticket prices just keep going up. So I think eventually Endgame will have to get knocked off just from inflation, but it may be like 100 years from now, you can say.
If we're still around. Look, I'm always really hesitant on that adjusted for inflation type thing. Yeah.
I think it's interesting because you
Doesn't
get
make
to
sense.
see what was the zeitgeist or what everyone was talking about in the movie world at that time.
If you do it by decade, then like I think a far more accurate kind of reading is just look at what the most popular movie of a 5-year span or even per year. I think that's really interesting to see what kind of movie is doing well, I suppose.
I love how much of a cynic you are. You look at this list and you're like, this is lying to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, whenever
This means nothing.
Yeah, I did like 4 years of statistics at uni, and like every time I see any of that kind of stuff, it bothers me.
Meaningless numbers.
Yeah.
Tainted.
Weirdest brag ever. I did statistics.
Hello, ladies.
What's
So
the probability of me doing this?
It's good that it's kind
Zero,
I have to
okay.
use it somewhere, and it's got to become relevant in my real life.
Yeah, so I did a year of chemistry. Failed the second semester. You can't touch this.
Do you have any weird brags, Ben?
What did you do at uni? This is our uni.
Oh, let's not get into that waste of life.
Yeah.
What time is it?
It's trailer time.
Fuck was that?
I didn't want to do that directly in the microphone.
Was that a cow?
Unfortunate. All right. Well, first of all, we've got what everyone's been talking about, which is Terminator.
Dark Fate.
Terminator. And this is not taking into account the last 2 movies? 3 movies? Yeah. So it's just
or the TV series.
Or the TV series.
Or the comic books.
Or the game, the app.
Yeah.
The
Dark Fate is just it's essentially just Terminator 3.
The alarm
just
clock.
think of it as Terminator 3 now.
Yes, this is the new Terminator 3.
Exactly.
So on a concept level, I kind of like that. I like when a series is like, nah, just fuck that shit off. Let's,
I'm into it as well. I know you're not into it, Benny.
What?
just
You know,
own what is.
You know, like how the Blomkamp
Oh, right,
Alien was going to ignore 3 and 4, and this one's ignoring
Depends on the series.
half of the movies.
Yeah.
Depends on the series. The Terminator series has been so ridiculously rebooted at this point. I think this is as good as any way to do it. Like, if it's a long-running series with one continuity, sure, but this is the 3rd attempt at starting a new Terminator trilogy in a row.
Wow.
Because Terminator 4 was trying to start a new trilogy.
Salvation.
Yeah.
Terminator Genesis was repeatedly slated to be the start of a new
And
trilogy.
they were booked. They were booked for 3 movies.
Yep. Yeah. And they got cancelled as fuck. And all of them had like complete recast with you know, some notable exceptions. So the continuity of these movies is just nuts.
Yeah. So I think that it's really good that they're going with that strategy. Having said that, we watched the trailer. Cool song, cool vibe to it.
Yeah, it's a Bjork cover
Yeah.
of her album Homogenic. As you can tell, I am a fan.
Good song.
Love that song.
In terms of what we actually saw out of it, we only saw half a trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, the official version cut out on us. For some
So
reason.
the first takeaway from this, I think, is I quite like the new Terminator. How the skin, the endoskeleton, the exoskeleton can be
Vibe.
manipulated.
So it's like an 800 mixed with the 1000.
Yeah,
which
but they say they can exist separately from each other.
Yeah. Like I think it is the most interesting thing they've done with the Terminator since the T1000.
I think so as well.
I really do think it's not that bad. And Gabriel Luna was Agents of Shield's Ghost Rider. I really like that dude.
Okay.
So it's cool to see him.
And he's got that vacancy. You know, that
See, I
Terminator
actually find him
vacancy.
super sympathetic, and that's probably just because of Agents of Shield.
Yeah.
So it's funny watching him after watching, you know,
Right.
Robert Patrick is just like clearly a stone cold dick.
Yeah. So that for me, I really enjoyed that component of this trailer. But really, I'm concerned. I'm concerned about this film. And I think that they are going to, like, the little girl is kind of like the surrogate John Connor. Her role is kind of like a hybrid between Sam Worthington's from Salvation. Like, what is, you know, there's some interesting threads in here, but like, I'm not convinced that the payoff is going to really be that interesting.
Yeah, I think that what this movie will go for is, you know, the kind of the more gimmicky side of the Terminator franchise. I've always, like, I know you guys just said that you think it's the coolest thing that they've done with the Terminator, but I feel like every Terminator feels like it has to be different. It's
Has to
the
step
new
it up
gimmick.
kind
It
of
has to
thing.
step it up type thing. And I think if you get too mixed up in that, you're gonna forget what the original Terminator had going for it, and even the second Terminator had going for it, which is a good story, and some kind of cool sci-fi aspects to that. And so I have a feeling that this movie will lose itself, and then there's perfect examples of that with, you know, the big like plane scene where the planes crashing into each other and the character jumping from one to the other, like that scene feels like something I will dislike.
Linda Hamilton looks great.
There is that.
It blows my mind that this is the first time they brought her back since the second one. Like, that was the most mind-boggling thing about Terminator 3 was they'd killed her off screen. She was.
But wasn't that a contractual thing?
I don't know the reasons behind it, but it was bizarre. I thought, like, especially seeing her now, like, even this long after Terminator 2, she looks awesome.
Yeah, she looks
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. So I don't know. I actually really like this trailer.
What was it
James-
about it? I'm really curious.
The song. It was definitely the song.
song.
The song,
It was
yeah.
absolutely the song.
If you can narrow it down to one thing.
I thought the effects on the Terminator looked really cool, and like I said,
too.
I really like Gabrielle Luna.
I like Mackenzie. Is it Mackenzie Davis?
Mackenzie Davis, I really like her.
I
yeah.
really like her. She was fantastic in Blade Runner. I want to see more of her. I hope that the character is something interesting, because that bit where her skin gets, sheared off and then you see underneath, like, I hope they have something interesting there.
Yeah, it does seem like she's very Sam Worthington, like she's a human who's been
Yeah.
augmented. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I like the vibe of this trailer. James Cameron producing doesn't mean jack all to me,
shit,
because
yeah.
he promoted Genesis. He says like, this is a great Terminator movie. I'm like, shut up, man. Like at
He
most,
did do Alita though, and I think we were all reasonably solid on that.
I would
Reasonably solid?
No, I don't remember
No?
being reasonably solid on that.
I'm
No?
gonna have to go listen to my review because I don't remember.
Yeah,
much
I
about that movie at
remember
all.
having some mixed feelings about it.
Definite mixed feelings. Yeah, when it was strong, but there was some garbage in
There
there.
was some absolute garbage in that. Look, I don't know about you guys, but I felt like some of the CG in this was pretty dodgy, or maybe not even just dodgy. Just it didn't feel polished, and maybe that's because it's a trailer. But
It-
when
it
he's
was-
jumping from car to car, it gets that rubbery look to it.
Nothing in here looked bad to me except for the bit where they're on the train at the end. The composite job looked very, very dodge, and then the plane. Other than that, I thought it was pretty well executed.
When he's jumping from the car,
No, I thought
That
Yeah,
looked
that
very-
looked a little Keanu in Matrix 2.
Yeah.
I dug that. I was like, that's some of the best
I
CG
really
I've
liked-
ever seen.
I really liked when the liquid metal one was coming off him. I thought that was
Yeah,
terrific.
That looks
good.
fantastic.
And I loved when Mackenzie was just smacking him with a sledgehammer. That leg break is wicked. But directed by Tim Miller, director of Deadpool, which is pretty cool. I think he did a really fantastic job on that film
Me too.
in virtually every
Is this his-
arena. So
Is this his first feature since Deadpool? Let's have a look.
I don't
Yeah,
think so.
he made
Yeah,
his
'cause-
feature film.
he dropped off Deadpool 2.
Yep. Yeah. Terminator Dark Fate. And he's an executive producer on Sonic the Hedgehog. Hey, Tim.
Oh, no.
Timmy.
Go
Forgot
get
about
him.
that.
Go get him.
Oh, well.
there's no reason to bring that up.
Huh.
Hmm.
Well, I guess we got nothing else to
Cool.
say about
Next
Terminator.
one. We have an international trailer for Spider-Man: Far From Home. I'll be honest, not an awful lot new in this.
Nah.
This had like the my first movie score sound on the background when it's got like that.
Didn't it? Yeah.
Like
One
the
thing I did notice that
staccato violins and stuff.
You're gonna have to remind me if this was in the other trailer, but I don't remember seeing the scene where Peter hugs MJ while he's in the spider suit.
No, that was fresh.
Yeah, so that's an interesting, I guess plot twist into
Cat's
this.
out of the bag there.
It could be that they're once again putting in a smoke screen. It would not be the first time that they've done that in a trailer, because I think there was
That would be a kind of a weird opposite direction to take that, though. Like you
But, I
think
mean,
what
I
they
wouldn't
do
be
is like
surprised if
CG a mask on him, and then in the
Yeah,
movie it's not
yeah.
on there.
Yeah, I mean, I got
possibly.
nothing to say on this one, to be
Yeah.
perfectly frank.
It's,
Like,
it's coming very soon.
this was cut like what every other studio other than Marvel, how they would cut a superhero trailer. It just screamed amateur to me.
Sony's in charge of the marketing for the Spider-Man films. That's why they generally kind of suck and reveal a lot about the
Well,
movies.
yeah, fuck, that makes a lot of sense because it just seemed really below par
That's
to
why
me.
the posters for the Spider-Man movies are awful.
Those were dreadful, man. Like
That
he
one,
looked like
there's-
he'd been stung by a bee.
There's one for this one that's Tom Holland, Mysterio, and Sam Jackson, and it is horrific. I can't
It's like,
believe
is
how
that
bad it
drawn or is that just a terrible photo? Like, is that like an iPhone 1 photo? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Sony.
All right. Third, we have Star Trek Picard.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about this for a while.
You make a wine.
Yeah, I want to get some of that Chateau Picard.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Nice
Do you
to
reckon
know.
that
It'd be
as
a
part of
nice
the marketing
drop.
that they'll
Oh,
release a
they
Chateau
should.
Picard?
They really should.
They would make a killing.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah, this-
checkers who've never had a glass of wine, like ordering
Yeah,
it
yeah.
by the fucking
Well, they wouldn't
crate.
open it anyway, so it's
This
fine.
really reminds me of, and I'm gonna because it's been such a long time since I've gone back and watched the original Star Trek films. Which Star Trek film is it that Kirk is back on Earth?
The Quest for Peace, Star Trek 4.
Whales?
The one in
The Whales.
San Fran, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great movie. That's so good.
So the one where he's just back at home and they need to convince him to. No, wait. No, I think we're thinking about the different one. There's a scene where he's back at his farm, and it's just like him outside of Starfleet. I think it's after he died.
Yeah,
or he got sucked
I think
into
you've
a
made this
wormhole.
one up.
Aren't you thinking of the final scene of Star Trek Generations?
God, this is really
where this is basically picking up from? Is that what you're thinking?
No, it's Kirk back home at his farm, and someone has to go and convince him that it's not real. Because I'm getting serious vibes from that.
No.
Got me, man. I've
This is
seen
really gonna
all
bother
the
me now.
original Kirk movies. I haven't seen Generations though, which is
What was the one where Kirk
bridging movie.
dies, where he gets sucked
Generations.
into a? Okay, yeah, I think it's that or after that.
The
something
one
like that.
movie you haven't seen.
No, I haven't seen any. I've only seen First Contact in terms of the next gen movies.
Yeah,
Oh, well, you only seen First Contact. Come on, bro.
this is
Yeah, and
really
it kind
gonna.
of sucked, so I didn't want to watch the ones that are apparently
You
worse
gotta
than
get in
that.
the one. You got to get in the little Tom Hardy one.
Oh,
That's-
Nemesis.
That is the worst.
So I believe that's the last time we've seen Picard, unless he
Nemesis
cameoed
is the one
in,
where
a,
he
in a TV
goes,
show.
Yeah,
where he
that's
goes back
correct,
to being
isn't
a
it?
Borg, isn't it?
No, that's
Jesus,
So
I am all
Tom
over
Hardy
the
plays a
place.
young Picard.
Yeah, I am
Um,
all over the place with my Trek knowledge.
The series is all over the place with itself.
Yeah, I'm tripping
So
out right
yeah,
now.
it's kind of cool that they're bringing him back to maybe give him a more noble ending than that movie that everyone hated.
But how? Yeah. So I'm listening.
Should we do like a rewatching of all the Trek movies?
That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
We're gonna get through the X-Men movies.
one at a time.
Do you have something better to do, Ben?
What do you,
It's such a
yeah, I mean, like this is a cool little teaser, but I guess coming from like a '90s Star Trek guy, like how does this work with Deep Space Nine, Voyager? You know, focusing on one character. You know, how limiting is this? How does this work?
Next Gen was very much an ensemble piece.
Yes.
So it's you got to wonder: are they going to bring anyone into this, or is it just going to be actually him on a vineyard?
Because I know Stryker's
Watch
in
that.
it. William Stryker.
Riker.
Stryker.
He gives him an adamantium skeleton. How good would that be? Professor X with claws. Just wheeling around, swiping away.
Oh, shit.
What were you saying?
Mr. Wolf.
Hey, Picard.
Commander Wolf. Where's my adamantium?
I think this could be something interesting, something maybe a little bit different, like just do a character piece. Because you said, fuck you.
Oh, I'm laughing at myself.
I know.
Mr. Wolf.
Um,
And I'll blow your house down. Sorry.
what we said is that traditionally he's been part of an ensemble, and that's really been the focus. I think that there's something to just doing a character piece around Picard. I think that it won't be the same as
It'll be different.
It'll be different. Well, and I think that
It's
a lot
sci-fi.
of people are just expecting a continuation of the story, and I hope they don't do that. I hope they really just kind of do this as a character development. Maybe even keep it short. Like, do we have an episode list or how many that they're planning on doing?
It would, you know what I think is the best case scenario for me is like what they're doing with these Disney Plus shows is like 6 episodes, boom. Like,
Yeah.
I would love a mini series, and that's it. You know,
Just long enough to give us a good character arc, just a nice little reintroduction of the
I
character.
think I have like 4 seasons of Next Gen and 4 movies to watch before I can watch this though. So it's probably never going to happen.
It's
yeah,
true.
Good luck to
actually.
you.
Also, it's coming to CBS All Access, so we'll never see it.
Yeah, there's that as well.
Mm.
And finally, for the last trailer, we have Swamp Thing from DC,
Way better than the last trailer.
Mm.
Like significantly better.
which is
lot
not saying
more
an
to
awful
it.
lot.
No, I mean
Unfortunately.
it's a pretty low baseline, but I was like, okay, there's something in
Yeah.
here.
Some really gruesome imagery.
Something
The
in
problem
here.
with this trailer and the last trailer to a certain extent is there's a lot of the imagery that is really cool, and I love some of the design that's clearly gone into this series. But just the way that they edit together these trailers is so average and just really amateurish.
Yeah, I mean, they could sort of flash to it a bit more. So it's sort of not like it's very in your face in this one. And I think they could maybe edit around it a bit more to add a bit more mystery.
Yeah. Not even that, but just like it's like a sure sign that someone has no idea what they're doing when you get the trailers that are like dialogue piece, dialogue piece, and like they're just flashing from scene to scene. You're like, oh, this feels disjointed. Like if you're gonna do dialogue, there's a very specific way to do it so that it doesn't sound disjointed, so it feels like it's flowing on in a trailer. But when you just hack together different quotes from the series, it feels
Diminishing
bad.
returns.
Yeah, I feel like the DC Universe streaming service is a pretty small operation. Probably got like the coffee kid doing it.
Oddly enough, not premium kind of pricing.
If only they
$7
charged
a
a bit more, they could afford.
They listen to me, it'd be sweet. It'd be squeaky clean Swamp Thing trailer.
Check out episode 3 from March 2017 if you want to get that reference.
Speaking of which, we have not taken the time to congratulate George.
Yes.
He has won his first steak challenge.
I did a good.
Yep, you called the box office haul of Captain Marvel to like 1 million.
Yeah.
you were
Like,
so
we were-
close.
we were-
$1,000.
We were off by there's like a $5 million spread between you and me, and I figured that it was either going to go way above or way below. Like one of us was going to be right, but it was going to be comfortable, and it ended up being like 4 weeks of us sweating, like figuring out where it was.
I was taking it on the bus to ride to work one day. I
Yeah.
was like, what the fuck? I thought I had this in the bag.
That, I mean, kudos to you for calling it so closely, but yeah, that was.
I smelt it in the air,
And I was pissed because we did like it had to be above the number, and you picked 5 million above my number.
Yeah,
Son of a
that's
bitch.
the way it works. And that's
the
Swamp
trailers.
Thing. We're going to cap off with a couple questions this week. So I put something up on Instagram. Thanks for everyone for everyone for answering those. So we got some rapid fire questions. Asking those questions, yes. God, sorry, I can barely get my words
Thanks,
out
guys.
today.
Yeah.
So basically,
well
I'm
done.
saying you did it good. So let's get through these rapid fire ones before I have more meaty question, and then we'll call it a day today. So I don't have any names for these. I apologize, but hey, thank you. Sincerely,
You know who you
thank you. With the Star Wars sequels wrapping up, do you think it's time for an Obi Wan TV series?
3, 2, 1.
Yes.
Can you repeat the question?
Fuck you.
I think that a TV series, firstly, is probably a good way for them to go because no one cares about the movies, clearly, the solo stories, whatever.
A Star Wars anthology story.
Oh, boy.
Story.
And I think there's going to be a lot of buzz following The Mandalorian, which from all accounts looks amazing. So I think, yes, that would be the perfect time to jump into this.
Yeah.
You? You're keen?
I would love to see Ewan McGregor reprise his role. And I think that's it. Don't do what they did with Solo.
I really want to see Ewan McGregor reprise his role, which is exactly why I think this is a bad idea. Because that's pretty much all people really want. They want Ewan McGregor back. They want to see more of Obi-Wan. And I think that
Too much fan service?
well, not even just too much fan service, but to someone that's going to create this, all they have to do is show Obi-Wan. Like that's what the fans are asking for. I want more Obi-Wan. If you show more Obi-Wan, then they've done their job, and everything else is kind of peripheral, and that worries me. Like that's for Solo. I think that's one of the major issues. Like all we wanted out of Solo was some nostalgia. Show us the Millennium Falcon. Show us how they met Chewie, and they were like, "Sweet, we can do that. We'll chuck some stuff around that. We'll make some convoluted plot points, and we're good." I mean, that to me is a recipe for disaster. So, as a fan, yeah, I want to see Obi-Wan. I want to see something done with that. I want to see him back in that universe. I want to see him slinging a lightsaber. But that's exactly why I think this could be a very bad idea.
Makes sense. Next question off the ranks. Why does Ben twitch so much?
I have serious medical issues.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. Terrible at fake crying.
Stop picking on me. That's
fake
because I
cry.
find
That's the
people crying
wickedest
so
fake
funny.
cry.
Stop picking on me.
You should see me in bed at night because it's
Should
just
I?
torrential.
Torrential.
Yeah, crying.
Oh, right. I thought you were twitching. I was like torrential twitching.
Let's move on swiftly.
Forecast of twitching tonight.
What Star Wars spin-off would you watch that hasn't been done?
Obi-Wan.
I'm going to say Knights of the Old Republic, and it's on the way.
Yeah,
as
it
per the
feels like
podcast
almost a
Strikes Back.
cop-out answer, but Knights of the Old Republic is probably where I would go, solely for the reason that I feel like we need something that is divorced from the main Skywalker timeline kind of franchise
Yep.
piece. Ben?
If I had to pick something I gotta say, I really like Starkiller from the Force Unleashed video games.
Oh yeah.
Sam something, the actor. I would like to see him in something.
That would
Yeah,
actually be pretty cool.
Sam Whitworth, right?
Sure.
The guy who voiced Darth Maul?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fuck, I love that guy.
Mm.
What a handsome devil.
Man, he looks like he was made in a lab. It's so
I
weird.
know, man. And he's fucking cool. Let's not gush on that too much. What now for the DC movie franchise? What now for the DC movie franchise?
This was me last week, just not being able to get a single word
Brain
out.
farts.
Yeah.
Brain farts left, front, and center. Well, I mean, this is interesting because I think a lot of our friends who listen in, they always say to us, "Oh, you guys hate DC. You shit on DC." I think we're pretty reasonable, and credit where credit's due. We've been singing the praises of DC recently, or at least I have.
Since Aquaman,
Shazam, Aquaman, pumped for the Joker to a certain degree. I mean, it's all kind of falling into place a little bit.
I think that, for me, it's ditch the whole DC universe thing. You tried it, you failed. And they do seem to be kind of making each film its own thing. If they want to try and piece it back together later, I think that's fine. But do what Marvel did and make individual films and then piece them together kind of in the peripheries and then create a universe.
Yeah, so I would say I love what they're doing right now, which is completely shying away from what Marvel did, is just make individual movies like set in just completely different worlds. Like, don't worry about creating any kind of continuity. And if they want to do something with that later on, there's always a way.
But that was my point. That's what Marvel did. Like, they created Iron Man. They created
their second
Thor.
movie had Tony Stark in it.
Oh, well, I take your point on that, but it was very
they were very much in the same world, very deliberately and very clearly. I love the idea that they're making this Joker movie that is just 100% not set in this Justice League universe, and now they're making a Batman movie that who knows what that's doing. That might not be in either. Like, I really like that they're just doing like what they can do in the comics and just tell whatever stories they want to tell. That's so freeing.
Yeah.
Nice one. Final question here from our boy Drew Torres. As a result of Endgame, sorry, I keep reading that wrong. A result of Endgame that nobody is talking about is the end of the Russo brothers' direction. They've been helping steer the Marvel ship for a while. Who would you picture taking the directorial reins of the MCU? Thank you, Drew.
Zack Snyder.
Whoa.
It's time.
You son of a bitch.
Did you just say that? Did you just fucking say that?
I don't know.
the Snyder edit of Endgame.
Release the Snyder cut of Endgame.
The most interesting...
They just like keep haranguing Disney just on Twitter or something. Release the Snyder cut, Disney.
The most interesting thing about this question is that if you told me... Let's put it this way. If someone said, hey, you want to watch Marley and Me? In 2004, 2007, and chuck that on and said, yeah, it's a sweet little movie. If then you turned to me and said, hey, these guys are going to spearhead the MCU, one of the biggest comic book, sci-fi, action, adventure franchises out, I would have said, fuck off.
Did they do that or You, Me and Dupree?
Oh, that's the one. You, Me and Dupree. What did I say?
So you really would have said fuck off.
What did I say?
Marley and Me.
Marley and Me, the dog.
The dog movie.
So I think ultimately it's like, I don't know who should... I don't really have an opinion.
I'm kind of with you.
They could come out from anywhere.
It should be someone that it probably doesn't have as much of a profile. Like, I think I love their pick for Ragnarok. I love that they got Taika Waititi, who was obviously competent, and for those who knew him, he had a pretty solid fan base, but he wasn't, I'd say, really well known.
No,
what was his most famous movie before that?
Hunt for the Wilder People was known in circles, but it wasn't ubiquitously known.
And not really outside of Australia and New Zealand, I'd say. Too much, I'd say.
Yeah, you're probably correct there. Probably.
Perhaps, maybe.
Perhaps. Potentially.
But in terms of... I totally agree. I think it should be someone that kind of comes out of left field. And I think Marvel has so far done a pretty decent job of picking, directors that they have enough of a hold on that they can kind of mold and give direction to, but that also have their own voice.
Very little reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To narrow it down a little, I'm sorry, Drew, I don't have someone specific in mind, but I really think taking people from TV worked out so well for them. People who can do this kind of long form storytelling, and with the production value of TV nowadays, like it's not as much as a leap as it used to be. So I think getting people have shown that they can do continuity and really imaginative stuff, like these guys who worked on Community and Arrested Development. I think that could be the way to go in the future.
And these Disney Plus shows could almost be like a way of them to prospect certain directors. They can be like, hey, this guy's really talented. Let's get him on an episode of Loki, see how they perform. Fuck, they blew it out of the park. Avengers 6. Enjoy it, friend.
I think that Disney's getting to the point where they're rich enough and they have enough technology, they're just going to try and grow directors in labs.
Yeah. They'll resurrect Walt Disney's frozen head to direct it himself.
Wow.
Maybe not.
Well, is that really going to happen, man?
Just walking around with spider legs.
Futurama style.
Well, thank you so much for all those questions, guys. You can hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, also in the YouTube comments. We love hearing from you guys, so definitely hit us up with a question. Next week, hey, we've got something coming up this week. And once again, I haven't looked it up. What he just said.
Yes.
What did you say?
Godzilla.
You're excited.
Sorry. Yeah, I am.
You were going to do something.
I was going to do it. Yeah. It's the first thing that people do when they hear that name. Just don't do it on YouTube in front of people.
So stay tuned for that, guys, and we'll be back next week for some more movie antics with the boys Connor.
See ya.
Benny.
Bye.